How's it going, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the cast right here at Celestia Radio. It is your host, Matthias, as is usual, with Dalit and Nat. How you guys doing?
G'day, everyone.
Hey everyone, I'm doing all right.
Doll's a little bit sleepy.
No, Dalt's very tired, but not sleepy.
He's a sleepy boy.
He just got back in. That's what he did.
It's been one of those days, huh, Dalit?
Yeah, and tomorrow's gonna be another one of them. But I mean, it's just how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, I understand. That's what this week's been like for me, my friend.
I feel that. I do. Hopefully, these weeks chill out.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Jeez, hopefully. But, we're not here to talk about the depressing stuff. We're here to talk about video games.
Hell yeah.
Before we completely jump into that, you guys play anything interesting this week before we jump into the topic?
No,
Just to
not
ask,
really.
just to be curious.
I mean, I did a bunch of like the oh god, what did I cover? I did a bunch of stuff. I guess that was technically last week, but I'll talk about it. I very, very briefly popped back into 14 because they were offering free time. Didn't get much done because the moment I said, hey, let me go get another feel for this really quick, everything happened at once. Just everything.
Yeah, the First Descendant.
Yep.
And what was
First
the other
Descent.
one? Oh,
Yeah, First Descendant.
33 Immortals?
33 Immortals. And there was one more that I can't remember. just at the
Wuthering
moment.
Waves.
Oh, right, Wuthering Waves. Yeah. So, really bad time to pop open that 4-day access to the game, because I got like a day and a half and never got a chance to go back, so that's dead now. But it's fine.
Yeah. That's every time for me.
Yeah, on the upside, I did enjoy the games we played. We had a whole podcast about the First Descendant and why that was a lovely time. And
It
33
was.
Immortals ended up being really good too. And I'm surprised that's not already in early access, because it feels super polished for a beta.
Ooh.
It's only one level,
That's
I guess
pretty
that's
good.
why. But I imagine they have more stuff done. The early access is going to be great for it. It's going to be fantastic.
Was it a vertical slice? Because you said it was a beta, right?
No, this was just, as far as I can tell, the very, very opening of the game.
Oh, okay.
I'm excited to hear your full thoughts because you have something up on Perpetual Backlog about
Yeah,
it. So
yeah.
I'm excited to go listen to that. Yeah, I'm curious.
Shout out to the other podcast. Wink, wink.
Yeah, Perpetual Backlog gets two shout outs in a row.
God,
you know?
imagine that.
Yeah, Aqua.
Yeah, it's like we actually like our friends or something. Jeez.
Don't be ridiculous.
I know this week has been mostly Wuthering Waves for me.
I'm surprised you haven't fucking called me out yet, Matt. I literally answer your question with, "Oh yeah, nothing. I've played nothing." When
I was going to because because you've been playing Wuthering Waves too.
Have
So
Wuthering Waves on right now. Obviously, I'm not playing it right now, but it's up there. It's there.
yeah, I mean, overall, everybody seems to be enjoying it that I've talked to, for the most part. So it's very exciting to see. The Kuro has continued to be an amazing dev company, talking to the players, giving out compensations, being clear, all this stuff. So it's been a great experience thus far, and I hope that continues into the further life cycle of the game.
Yeah.
Even if Wuthering Waves, ended up making me go into relapse with gotcha games. It's fine.
Yeah, I did do that.
It's whatever. There's no escape for me. I give up.
There is no escape.
One day this week, I'm going to be doing a stream where I plan to start early and just see how many gotcha games I can fit into one stream, and I'm just going to go do the event that's in Star Rail, do a bunch of farming in Wuthering Waves, do some daily stuff in PGR. So we're not going to talk about Wuthering Waves and those things.
No.
It is exciting to hear about the beta stuff that Dalit got to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, you can always go find his thoughts on that, as we mentioned. But yeah, we do have something we want to talk about this week a little bit. All three of us as you, our dear listeners, may have picked up over all of these episodes thus far, however many that is, you may have picked up that we like Square Enix games.
Yeah, they're all right.
We play a few of them, one or two.
Yeah, just one or two.
We're a little late to this story.
Oh yeah, we're like a month late to this.
Well, I mean, we're like a month late talking about it, and this is going up like even later than that, I think.
Yeah.
So this is going to be pretty old news by the time you all are listening to it, but it doesn't make it any less interesting to talk about.
I think it was
because I think even a month later it's still being talked about because it is still kind of interesting.
Yeah, even though the information itself is old, I think it's still relevant because with how Square Enix is doing their business going forward. So yeah.
So yeah, it's you may have heard. I'm assuming you may have heard. It baffles me if you haven't, because I think even people who don't play Square Enix games know of Square Enix. It's one of those dev companies that are just like titans in the game industry that you should have heard about one way or another, right?
Yeah,
at least I think that's fair to say.
Video games are one of them.
They recently, air quotes, put out they had a big like business meeting, I guess you could say, and they put out some information to their investors and to their. I'm assuming it was also like it was mostly to their investors, but like for fans and media also got hands on this information. Basically, they're going through some changes, changing some stuff. Like they changed the names of some of like their divisions, right? Instead of creative business unit, it's now just business division, I think, or something like that.
Which has to be for in-house reasons, right? Because that's certainly not going to address the criticisms that I've seen content creators make about how much they don't like that name, which, just as an aside, is a real stupid criticism of Square Enix. Just saying. It's weird every time I see an Asmongold or someone say creative business division unit, they really got to work on their name. Like, it's Square Enix. It's a Square Enix in-house game. Just think of it as a Square Enix in-house game. Just don't even worry about the divisions. No, it doesn't matter.
It baffles me when somebody is just like, that's a weird name every time. I'm like, why are you focusing on this?
It's just Square Enix in-house. They do that for themselves, not for us.
Yeah.
But among changing the names of their divisions, they put out a report, or they put out to their investors, put out a report, whatever it was. I don't know the exact way this information came out. All I see is that it was announced. I just don't know the method of announcement, but they canceled apparently $140 million worth of games and projects in their replan of their like business and development plans going forward.
Yeah, that's crazy. That is a crazy big number. And
that's a lot.
It sounds bigger if you say it in yen.
Well, yeah, because it's like 22 billion yen, right?
It's 22.1 billion yen.
Ooh, that is actually a terrifying number. Oh my god, that's so big.
The Japanese would have been like, "Jeez Louise, we're losing that much fucking money." Well, not losing that much money, but like canceling that much money. Far out.
It is interesting to know that they only would have done this if they think this is healthiest going forward. Not necessarily because the things that are cut are they're not profitable, but clearly they've read the tea leaves, of which personally I think there have been many, and we've seen that their recent course of action has been, well, not great.
So I think of the games that have been coming out from Square recently, the only game that's really turning a profit for them right now is Final Fantasy 14. Did 16 turn a profit in the end? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it turned a profit. I just don't think it met their expectations. And the same with 7. 7 was also, I'm very sure, profitable, but it doesn't reach like the internal numbers that they expect it to reach.
Yeah, they consider Rebirth to be underperforming,
Which is a mental statement, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Agreed. I know they said Rebirth did not like meet the sales numbers they were expecting as fast as they were expecting.
Yeah, it's like genuinely, it's kind of been the go-to mono for a Square game over the last... God, it feels like it's been 10 years, but maybe it's not been that long. But for the last handful of years, something you can set your watch by is a game to come out made by Square, and then 2-3 months later to hear the game is underperforming and not meeting sales expectations, which is in many cases really weird because they do put out very good games. But also with the recent track record of Square, maybe not so weird because for every good game they put out, it seems they were also putting out actual trash. So
yeah, 5 actual dog shit fucking games.
I don't know about 5-1, but it was not a healthy ratio.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about 5-1, but thinking about the number of games in the last 10 years that have come out from Square that have not been good compared to the ones that have been, it's a pretty stark number comparison, right?
No, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
So maybe despite as egregious as it sounds, 5-1 isn't that far off. Yeah, no, but like a lot of Square games end up doing profit. Like they end up making money on at least their bigger names, right? Like, you know, Final Fantasy 16, the Final Fantasy 7 games.
Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts. Like they make the profit. But it's just not making it as fast as Square is expecting them to.
Yeah, they're expecting like a fucking 1 million sold in like the first 24 hours. It's like, whoa, bro, chill.
I mean, actually, hold on. I don't think their expectations are unreasonable. Asterisk.
Okay.
I think their expectations are unreasonable for as many exclusives as they have been dealing with.
Yeah.
Which is definitely going to come up in this conversation at some point because there's been a recent chat about that. Matter of fact, I think they announced that was coming to an end.
Yes.
Their exclusivity stuff?
Yeah.
And, I believe so, yeah.
So, if you look at the sales numbers of these games, and let's be super generous, let's just double every sale that they've done. Let's just assume that someone else was going to buy it on another platform.
Right.
Maybe the expectations this company suddenly has makes more sense. And what was holding them back the whole time was this need to be exclusive on Sony and exclusive on the PC side of things on Epic.
Well, is it Square Enix needs to be exclusive? Because I don't think they want to for the most part, because these exclusives come down to contracts, right? So it will either be Sony or, you know, Epic Games or whatever will be like, hey, I want your game on my platform for 1 year, 6 months, whatever, right? And then Square Enix will be like, they are giving us money and they are letting us use their assets and all that. We have to take the deal, right? It would sort of be something like that. Right?
You were right until that very last thing you said.
Ooh.
At no point does Square Enix ever have to take that deal. They choose to.
That is true.
And it is why it becomes a Square Enix problem and not a Sony or an Epic problem. They're not helpful in this mind, but I mean, they're not doing the unreasonable thing from a company. The unreasonable thing from the company is coming from Square Enix, who is making their product available in only one avenue and then complaining that they aren't making more money from that singular avenue.
Yeah. You're right about that.
Yeah, so I get, like, to a certain extent, I get the Sony thing, because there's always been a long-standing friendship between Sony and Square Enix.
Right.
To get that, not, like, exclusivity, but maybe like a timed exclusivity thing, which is what it ends up being for the most part for a lot of these games, because we do end up getting them on PC eventually.
That said,
now them setting that expectation for the sales to be as if it released on both at once is a bit a bit ridiculous. But I mean, that's them setting expectations that just don't make sense. I guess
will
to what they're
point out that even in this regard, Square isn't safe from my criticism, because this isn't the first time they've done this. Before they were more or less a Sony exclusive brand, they were a Nintendo exclusive brand. So they know that this isn't the move. They know that having access to a wider audience is better. We've gone through it before. For whatever reason, in recent years, probably with a turnover in staff and at the higher echelons, I'd bet, they fail to transfer this knowledge, and we're seeing history repeat itself. Now, granted, the other side of that is Square Enix is a super Japanese company, and we do know how they feel, how they felt in Japan previously about Microsoft. Not that they hated the brand, but, you know, the Xbox didn't do well. Well, not even that, just the Xbox just didn't do well in Japan. And PC gaming at the start of, let's say, the last decade probably wasn't as big as it is today. I think a lot of people are still stuck up in the mindset that the JP crowd isn't PC gaming, which is just not true. They absolutely are. PC gaming is an everywhere thing now. Which is why we're seeing this happen. Why now, like, Sony is pushing their stuff onto PC, and Square Enix is now also following that lead and also putting it out multi-platform. But all this goes back to say that this is knowledge that the company should have had, but I have a funny feeling wasn't learned by the most recent generation from the previous one.
So, the thing I don't get is... So they have this timed exclusivity, and then things go to PC, right?
Yep.
Why this deal with Epic Games to get
Epic pays out there first? So well.
Yeah.
And they take a much, much lighter cut.
Okay, well, I mean, I guess that makes sense. It's just because I'm pretty sure every Square title that is on Epic and then went to Steam or is on both or whatever, the sales on Steam are better because Steam just has a higher...
It has a higher install base, for sure. Also, it's more agreeable with the online population at the moment. And until Epic adjusts a few more things, which they've been doing slowly but surely, Steam is just the better product.
Yeah. When Kingdom Hearts was when Kingdom Hearts going onto Steam was first announced, everyone, like, pretty much the majority of people were like, finally, Kingdom Hearts is coming onto PC.
Yeah.
When it was already on PC, because people don't consider EGS to be a just good PC launcher to serve games and all that.
The launcher's fine. It's the storefront that's problematic, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I considered so many games just not on PC when I saw they were on Epic Games alone. Like Stranger of Paradise. I'm like, oh man, I want to play this, but I didn't have a PS5 at the time or whatever. And I'm like, I wish it was on PC. And then I saw it was on Epic Game Store. And I'm like, well, might as well not be on PC because...
Yeah, that's the common consensus.
Yeah.
It is on Steam now. Just like they finally added Kingdom Hearts, which them adding Kingdom Hearts to Steam was something that came out, I think, was like
very
2 weeks
recently.
after.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 weeks after all of this happened. Yeah. So I don't know what's up with the expectations they're setting, and they're consistently just not meeting those expectations.
I think it's because they're a big company and they just expect more from the customers for being essentially grandfathers to video games.
Which works for a number of years, but after a point becomes ridiculous, right? Like,
exactly right.
The big problem is that this is so common, I can joke about it, and everyone laughs because they're also like, yeah, this is what happens every year, like clockwork. The first few times it makes sense. You would probably expect to get big numbers. Your Square Enix, a Final Fantasy title should be one of the big heavy sellers. Frankly, anything with your name attached to it should probably do well.
Yeah.
I would be super interested in a candid discussion with the CEO about what their expectations actually are based on and why they are based that high. So when games that do turn that profit, they are still seen as a failure. Also, frankly, I'd also like to see sales numbers, because it could very well be that these games turn a profit, but they actually aren't that successful. They genuinely aren't, because game devs over the last so many years have gotten kind of ridiculous about the amount of stuff they want to stuff in a game, and that costs a lot of money. Like games, factually, it's not even just how pretty a game looks. Games just used to be cheaper to make. And with devs stuffing these games to the brim, which, I mean, that's a debate in and of itself, is that a good thing or not? Those games become almost difficult to make that super profit back on.
So I'm curious to your both's opinion or thoughts, like, outside of the exclusivity thing, right? What do you think is a big factor in that not meeting the goal that they keep happening?
I don't necessarily have an answer, but I do have a question for you guys, but I'll wait till afterwards. So Dollar, you want to go first again?
Yeah, I have a couple of notions on this one. Like I said before, games are expensive to make. And there are like two camps.
And they're getting more expensive to make because they're going to work with higher just everything.
Exactly.
Just everything, both software and hardware, just fucking everything.
Right. So there are two camps of consumers. There is, in my opinion, the vocal majority. We want more in our game. We want it to look pretty. We want it to look photoreal. We want these big, packed worlds. Fair. Right. And then there's gamers like me who genuinely are thinking, maybe I don't want my game to be photoreal. Maybe it doesn't need to be packed to the absolute brim. Maybe if you just give me a good 70 hours for like the high-end stuff and 40 hours for the mid-range stuff, we'll be happy.
Yeah.
So it's a balancing act, right? Because if they cater to me, they have to endure a lot of criticism of like, well, why can't every game be like Rebirth? Or like, frankly, like Dragon Age 12 or 11? 11, which was it's a huge game, that is. And while it's not photoreal,
what, 150 hours?
Yeah, it's like grossly long.
Yeah, it is a huge game.
Did you mean Dragon Quest?
And we'll talk and we'll
Oh, did I say Dragon Age?
Yeah, sorry, Dragon Quest.
Definitely meant Dragon Quest. Dragon Age is a whole different company with a whole different set of problems.
Yeah.
Not even going to touch on those right now.
The other issue that faces Square on situations like this is their losses from other games that are abject failures. Games like Babylon's Fall, games like the Avengers game that came out and failed miserably. Chocobo GPX or whatever it was called. Like all of these games that never meet their goal to begin with. Now the follow-up titles, the Final Fantasy 7s, the 16s, the Dragon Quests. Yeah, I got it.
Yep.
The Star Ocean remasters, all these games that are expected to do well must now do well enough to cover for the failings of the other games. So,
well, supposedly the Star Oceans aren't even doing what they expected.
Like I said, they were expected to do well, because you're right.
So, I got a question for you guys. Do you think the general consumer, whether they're Square Enix fans or not, do you think, well, actually, no, with the mindset of the general consumer we are talking about are Square Enix fans, do you think they just straight up do not care about the Western side of Square Enix games?
Well,
are you asking if Square Enix themselves
No,
care,
the consumers, us, the players.
Well, hold on. I have to have a quick clarification on this. What Western games does Square even own anymore? They sold off a lot of them to Embracer.
You might be right on that, but I remember specifically Tomb Raider and
no, they don't own that anymore.
Oh shit! Right.
Yeah, Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, all of those got sold off.
Yeah, all of the
What was this?
Western developed Square Enix titles or Square Enix IPs are no longer Square Enix IPs. They have been sold off to Embracer, and Embracer's
Oh, okay.
either
Well, then never mind.
furthering that or yeah. So the answer to your question was they
Okay.
don't. They didn't see them as
Yeah,
valuable.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So okay. No. Okay. Never mind.
I mean, to be fair, it's hard to see the IPs as valuable when they weren't releasing.
Well, they weren't doing
a lot of
anything
those
with
IPs.
it. Like it was just, I guess it was Tomb Raider, which was getting a release every
I mean, Hitman
3
was
years.
Decent.
Hitman. I don't think Hitman has the biggest install base, though. Is the problem?
Maybe.
Hitman is kind. I would kind of say is kind of a cult following game. Like it doesn't have the biggest player base
Right.
Like
in the
Deus
world.
Ex.
And
all
but
Yeah, Deus Ex. The last Deus Ex they released was 2012.
Holy.
yeah, they were just sitting on a horde of
2013.
IPs as well. So
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, they were just sitting on so many they weren't using. And to be fair, the ones they were using were just. I mean, they were barely using.
Yeah, exactly.
I completely forgot that they were sold
No,
off. Yeah.
that makes sense because Embracer also hasn't done much with this because they have their own problems, which we are not getting into. Because that is, that's not great for them right now.
And I mean, it really sucks because there's a lot of really good IPs.
There's so
right?
many. Please, I just want a Legacy of Kain game.
Oh yeah, Legacy of
Oh.
Kain. Yeah.
Legacy of Kain would be good.
Please.
I mean, I've always been a fan of the Deus Ex games. I would love more Deus
And
Ex.
frankly, that's the much more popular IP. That's the IP that like I half expect
The
Ubisoft
memes
to like
come
go
from.
pick up for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Like I always figured this underperformance issue they have is them not updating their mindset to like a current generation, right? That's always what I thought it was. Like they're not adjusting their expectations to the price point they're having to charge now.
So
The number of like I guess diversity of games that people are out there playing
Sorry.
and whatnot.
wasn't that the entire point of Kiryu being the head of Square Enix now to be the new fresh ideas guy? Or my
Oh, if you had asked me at the beginning of the year, I could answer this. I no longer remember what his call to action was for the company. He does have a different mindset than the
He
last CEO, but I don't remember what his driving force is. Because as far as I'm concerned, right now he is having to right the ship.
And then yeah.
No, the last guy was NFTs, and don't get me wrong,
was it?
Kiryu is still an NFT guy in that he likes the AI aspect of things, but he's not going hard on NFTs like the previous CEO.
Right.
So Square did announce a new medium-term business plan as well, right at the same time all of this was happening. Titled Square Enix Reboots and Awakens 3 years of foundation laying for long-term growth.
Yes.
So the business plan covers the fiscal year ending in 2025. So it's covering this fiscal year with 4 pillars to it. Enhance productivity by optimizing the development footprint in the digital entertainment segment. Diversify earning opportunities by strengthening customer contact points. Roll out initiatives to create additional foundational stability. Strike a balance between shareholder return and growth investment when allocating capital. By driving a new medium-term business plan, we will shift from quantity to quality and evolve to deliver a variety of contents that ensure fun all over the world.
Which, frankly,
is a more in-depth.
super reassuring to hear, especially that
Yeah,
last part for me, because
Less products, but higher quality products.
Yeah, there's a more detailed breakdown here on this article I'm looking at as well, but it's like I'm not going to read through all of that. But I mean, that's the core points, right?
I can't go into detail enough about how that last part is so big. Square Enix was putting out so many games that they literally could cancel half of them, and there were still so many Square Enix games out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they also like it's not even like big games either, right? Like it's not even big games either. Like it's just so many games period because they have their like newest game out, the Foam Stars.
Yes, and this is what I'm
Like-
getting at. The idea of diversifying the games they have wasn't ever the issue. The issue was Square Enix jumped into so many different game type like lanes so fast, there was no
Yeah.
time for the company to build an expertise in them. They
Yeah,
had a bunch
exactly.
they had a bunch of mobile titles, which is
They
fair. They're a
were
JP
genre
company.
hopping.
That's a really strong pillar to try to establish. They were trying their best to get out a meaningful live service that wasn't an MMO, and I believe every single one of them failed. They have beefed up their single player stuff, which is, in my opinion, their best stuff.
Yeah,
And of course, they have their
the
MMOs.
16s,
So,
and then hopefully Dragon Quest 12 as well.
yeah, they were genuinely trying to do so much.
Yeah,
And I think taking a
they
slower
were genre
approach.
hopping.
Yeah.
And it's just they just, as you said, they just weren't planting their feet and just getting good at making the one or two thing, but instead they were hopping around, hopefully to make as much money as they can.
They should be in all of these fields, mind, but I think they rushed into all of them too fast.
Right.
Square's always been the big, like, RPG company.
Yes,
right? That's one of their big
that
things.
is
Their
core.
RPGs have always been
some
of their top, selling, top entertaining games, and they got into this habit of just dipping their toes in like every genre and pool out there, and not actually investing that much in any of them. And to what Dalet's saying, I mean, it's fine if they want to go into them, all power to them, but actually take the time to invest in them instead of just like poking the tip of your finger in there and saying, yeah, all right, I did something there. Like this Foam Stars thing, like I keep coming back to this because this game is literally just a carbon copy of
it's Splatoon. You're right.
Splatoon.
Yeah, you're correct.
Like it's just they just wanted to release a Splatoon like shooter, I guess is what you would call that, on something that's not Nintendo.
Yeah,
and because I mean, to be fair, that is a market.
I was about to
Splatoon
say yes.
It is one of those really popular games on Nintendo. Like Splatoon, people really enjoy it, but you have to play on Nintendo. So I mean that is a market hitting that on other systems, which I get makes perfect sense. But it's such a carbon copy.
Mm-hmm. While Splatoon is on a Nintendo device, it's on a portable Nintendo device, while we have none of that for PlayStation.
I don't even think that's the problem, though, because like Matthew, I believe
the fact that though,
maybe I feel like that's probably not the case for a shooter, but maybe I genuinely think this is a smart idea, and I don't think Foam Stars is even necessarily a bad game. I've seen enough reviews that say it's a perfectly fine copy.
Right?
Yeah, I'm not trying to hate on that.
The biggest issue with Foam Stars for me is that it continues their route of like live service monetization, which they have proven they are awful at.
Oh yeah, yep.
So like Square Enix either swings being kind of liberal on what they charge for, and it's fair and everyone likes it and it doesn't make enough money, or hyper aggressive and nobody likes it and it doesn't make enough money. So
yeah. So getting back to changing the head figure of the company, right? Do you think Sakaguchi gave Kiryu like the rundown of what they expect for in terms of like sales and whatnots with
no, I think he took his money and left.
Yeah, no, he pieced out.
Kiryu had to come in and talk to the rest of the staff and to the investors and figure out where expectations actually were and what his job was. Which is why I think we're seeing this adjustment. I think this is him realizing, okay, the old way doesn't work. The ship has to be righted, or we risk a lot. And I don't think Square Enix is like in danger.
Bankrupt.
I don't actually think that's an issue. I think what you would see instead is a massive downsizing to Square, and they would lose face, and that's not something they want to do. Like, I don't think Square Enix is even remotely close to being finished. Like, I think they could weather some really bad storms, but I think the size of the company and the quality of the products will suffer because of it.
Yeah.
I mean, they did also just sell off a bunch of IPs, which helps alleviate any.
Yeah, and exactly. Well. They sold off a bunch of very profitable IPs. They sold off Deus Ex, Hitman, Legacy of Kain. Okay, I'm going to pretend Legacy of Kain is profitable. Leave me alone. Thief and Tomb Raider.
Yeah, so I mean, like any potential issue they may have had by just chunk selling all of those IPs, they would have offset that.
Yeah, it's a super short-sighted move, but it does cover the short term.
And I mean, and coming back to that original, like, article title of 140 million worth of games and projects canceled, right? That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money,
especially when you look at the Square Enix spent about $792 million US on game development in their 2022 fiscal year. And the 2023 fiscal year spending was published in May, which was like a month after these articles were coming out about the canceled projects and stuff. So I don't have those numbers handy to see what their 23 spending was like. But still, $792 million US. That's a lot of money spent on game
so
development.
Baffling to me.
And their spending over the last few years really has been on a high, right? Like so 2022 was 792 million, 711 million in 21, 670 million in 2020. So much money being spent on game development, but of course
it's ridiculous.
all of these are also like years where they have this huge number of IPs that they're potentially like working on. So just throwing out money for projects.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like out of like all of these, out of this 140 million like dollar canceled projects and stuff, like these are all projects that we had heard nothing about, right? This is all
for the most
millions of
part, I would
cancel. No, that's where the numbers from. It's 140 million of games and projects that were just not disclosed.
Oh, okay, right.
It's not counting things we actually knew about.
Exactly.
That were shut down.
That's fucking hell. That's still insane, though.
I mean, you can probably safely assume the things that weren't cut. Like, obviously, they're still working on Kingdom Hearts 4. We'll still see that in like 5 more years. They're still working on the next Dragon's Quest. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that in the next year or two. Actually,
I mean, in terms of mobile game, they're still working on Missing Link. That has not been cancelled yet. So
true. Yep. They I mean, in terms of mobile games, they still have Missing Link. They still
Brave
have
Exvius.
Brave Exvius. They have the new 7 one.
Ever Crisis.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, they still have a foot in the mobile market and doing fairly well, especially considering one of those is their golden child of 7. While I'm not a huge fan of the gameplay in Ever Crisis, the game overall, the story that they have been adding, like the unique story that Ever Crisis is telling of Sephiroth's past and stuff, when he would like first join Soldier and all of that, that's all been really good. Like I've been watching like
when he was a good boy and all that.
Like that's all been really well like done storytelling, so that's been very enjoyable. So, but yeah, so I mean, like they have their foot in that mobile market still, right? And then obviously like their bigger IPs, like I said, with the Kingdom Hearts, with the Dragon's Quest, whatever Final Fantasy project they're working on at the moment, outside of 7, because we know they're working on the third part of the 7
installment.
Yeah, there's been these rumors that another Final Fantasy title is being remade. What Final Fantasy title that is has constantly been up in the air. So.
Well, with the way Yoshi P has been speaking about development of 14, you could consider 8.0 being part of, like, development projects and all that shit.
I mean, MMOs, like, with
MMOs are constantly in development. That never stops.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of their own thing. Like, it's its own team. It's like...
But you still have to factor it in, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Right, but I mean... but I mean, like, we're obviously not, seeing that being canceled, especially when, we've heard multiple times that, Yoshi P has, 10 more years of content. ready to go for Final Fantasy 14.
Right.
And he hasn't said anything differentiating from that recently.
Yeah.
We've been on media tours and stuff. So, like, that one, I feel is just one of those moments of goes without saying. But, it is good to say it. You're right. So, but, like, these bigger projects are obviously not what's, been canceled. But it really raises the question, like, what all were they working on to cancel $140 million worth of projects and games?
Do you think at least 2 of them has to be fucking unique IPs? Surely.
No, I don't think it has to be.
You don't think they wouldn't have?
I don't think it has to be. I think,
to...
honestly, we could have seen 10 years worth of games scrapped, and it could have been revivals and remasters that they just they no longer have the time for. Like, looking at the way that the Star Ocean remaster's gone, I wouldn't be surprised if they planned to do more of them and suddenly decided this is no longer an IP that we have confidence in, and we will return to this when we as a company are in a better place.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if Star Ocean was in a list of, like, a Star Ocean game was in that list.
I also wouldn't be surprised if, like, several Dragon Quest side games, because there's like 80 million side games for Dragon Quest.
Yeah, there's like,
were, like,
4
shot.
fucking, like, mobile games dedicated to that.
And
shit is insane.
I also wouldn't be surprised if we weren't looking at multiple live services that were crushed in infancy. Like, I'm not even about games that were even remotely close to coming out. I genuinely think a lot of these games that were killed, because they were killed, we weren't even within 5 years of them coming out.
Yeah.
I mean, there's also that potential that some of these games aren't games that they're, like, permanently scrapping, right? They just might be deciding, let's focus our attention, right? Maybe they were working on 2 or 3 different remaster Final Fantasy games at a time, and so maybe they've decided to scrap 2, 3 of those, whatever, and focus on
Final
one
Fantasy
of them.
10 remake, boys. Let's go.
Stop it. That game does not need to be remade. Stop it. Pick a different game. Pick a game that needs to be remade. You leave 10 alone.
6.
6 is
Give
great.
me a 6.
Well, yes, no. 6 is great. I would like to see a 6 remake.
Please give me a 6.
So do you think, because I think it's still rumors right now, but do you think Final Fantasy 9 remaster?
That one has been in development for so long. That one's probably one of the things that is going to come out. They're just not ready to talk about it yet.
Yeah, I figured as much. I was wondering, it's like, do you think it got the axe? But I don't think so.
No,
I don't think that one got the axe.
We've heard about that game being ready for launch for what, 2 years now, maybe longer.
Yeah,
so it's so close to the end. If that game was canceled, I'll be damned. I mean, to be fair, we also don't know if that game even technically exists. But given that everything else on that list where we're getting this information from does exist, stands to reason that, they didn't miss this one. But we don't know for sure. Yeah. So who's to say?
Right.
I mean, like, I think the only 2 in development Square Enix titles, like, that we know for a fact or that are in development are Kingdom Hearts 4. 3 titles we know that are in development are Kingdom Hearts 4, the third part of 7, and Dragon's Quest 12.
Yes, we do know for a fact that they are confident in all 3 of those titles.
Yep.
Like, we know for a fact those titles are in development.
As they should, because even though Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy are, like, big names, in Japan, domestically, Dragon Quest is, like, the number 1, if not number 2, compared to Pokemon for franchises in Japan.
With how well 11 did, it's picked up a lot of traction over here in the West too. So, I still would like to play 11. The fact that it is a 150-hour game has made that one of those things. Like, man, I've got the entire Kiseki series I'm still working on. I'll come back to that.
Yeah,
but aside from just knowing that these games are alive, we know that these are the games that they want to double down on anyway. There was articles that came out where they said outright, we want to put like emphasis on like the games that are pushing the quality levels, and not to take anything away from all the games that were cut, but like these are the games that they have faith in. So this clearly, these are their babies. Like these are their children that they know they can rely on before they go out and take a chance on someone else. Like I don't expect to see another Valkyrie Elysium. And frankly, I hope I don't see another Valkyrie Elysium because it was only mediocre at best. I was really excited about that game too.
I hope, and I don't want to like jinx anything here, right? I hope this is like a good outlook for it, and they, you know, set some realistic expectations, because it's a frightening thing to think about how investors and, you know, the business people in these companies look at things when they set these goals, they set these expectations, and they don't meet them. Like this is the kind of thing that EA would like shut down companies for,
oh yeah,
right? Like
all the time. We'd see companies shutter all the time so they could save their skin.
Yeah, like we set these expectations. Your game may have been profitable, but it didn't hit our expectations. So, you know, you're next. Like there's so much unemployment in the game in the game, you know, business, like in the development and all of that. So much unemployment there because of, you know, EA being the most notorious, but so many places doing this cutting of companies, cutting of teams and stuff, because
it's gotten really worse these last 2 or 3 years. We're seeing the largest amount of turnover. I don't want to say, I know job loss is technically correct, but I don't necessarily want to say that, because for everyone who gets fired or let go from one job, they find themselves in another. So I think turnover is the correct term, and it doesn't make it better. Like there are jobs that no longer exist at one company that were there this time last year.
Yeah, it's like it's a scary thing when they set those goals and don't meet them. So I hope with, you know, this refocused plan and them cutting all of these projects, they set realistic goals for them to meet, because if they don't and they're still setting unrealistic goals to meet, then that's a terrifying thing as a fan of these games and a fan of this company, to what that means for this company. Like I don't, you know, obviously I don't think Square Enix is going anywhere anytime soon, but cutting back on games like that we'd love to see coming out, or just ever seeing the light of day, is a depressing thought, I'll say. So
yeah, no, for sure, it absolutely is.
Do you think they'll set more realistic goals? Does it sound like they're going to?
I mean, yes and no.
I fucking hope
like,
so.
Clearly, they understand they can't keep pumping out games at the rate that they were doing, to the quality that they were doing, and that quality was all over the place. They understand, because they've said it, that they need fewer games at a higher, consistent level of content. So, fingers crossed for that. I think the easiest way to achieve that is to put out pretty games that aren't pushing any boundaries, that only last for maybe 3/4 as long as they tend to nowadays. I think if they made smaller games for a couple of years that were really good, they could save a lot of money and a lot of headache on the developer side. But I don't think they're going to do that. I think we're just going to see less games come out. And I do think the quality of those games will be not necessarily better, but as good as their best stuff more consistently. Because their good stuff is good. So
yeah, their good stuff is usually really good. I mean, we've spoken several times about how well Dragon's Quest XI is done in this episode alone. It's 7 has a huge following. It's constantly making them money. Even if Rebirth didn't sell as fast as they thought it would, I still attribute 16 and 7's like lower sales numbers being to the fact that they like
exclusivity.
It's the exclusivity, right? Both being on PS5 only, when so many people weren't able to get PS5s during the pandemic in that time period, and then when they started to become more available, people still weren't getting PS5s because there weren't games on it at the time to really warrant it.
Yeah, people just stopped caring about
the moment this goes out on Xbox and PC, or Steam specifically, I guess, you're going to see those numbers rise to a much more comfortable place for this organization. For instance, I've owned, I didn't realize this until the other night, I've owned every version of Kingdom Hearts, and I'm going to buy this one too, so I'm not going to pick out, I'm only going to buy one of them, granted, but...
Man, let me tell you, I'm not.
No, you are, man. I will fucking gift it to you if I have to.
That's the only way I'm getting it.
I'm absolutely picking up the 1 and 2 bundle. Like, I don't care about the quote unquote side games with their own main games, and I don't care about 3. I'm gonna own Kingdom Hearts 1 again. It's my baby. I love it.
And then you can mod it, Stolen.
Yes, genuinely. Matter of fact, one of the things I'm looking forward to most isn't about Kingdom Hearts 1, because I'm just going to play Kingdom Hearts 1 for Kingdom Hearts 1 because I love it. I'm looking forward to the Kingdom Hearts 2 rando that I can finally take part in.
The randomizers. We can do fucking randomizer races, bro.
Yeah, no, like I genuinely want to learn it.
Wait, Nat, weren't you playing a modded Kingdom Hearts 2 a couple months ago where that was like Devil May Cry style?
Yes.
Yeah, so I played I played 2. So Kingdom Hearts 1 Critical Mix, which pretty much was an overhaul to everything. So it was a lot faster and all that. Pretty good. Fucking loved it. And then there's a it's still in development, but it's called Project Nobody May Cry.
It's so sick.
As the title says, you play as Roxas, and it's pretty much like playing as a Devil May Cry character, and it's got everything. It's got fucking enemy jumps, it's got parries, it's got frame perfect, fucking everything, taunts, just it's insane to say the least.
I've also seen there's a big mod project for 3 in the works.
There is,
where you're able to like play as a huge cast of characters.
Yeah, you can play like as like pretty much everyone.
Yeah, and I will admit that particular mod made me go, there's a temptation to play 3 again just to do this.
Oh, I'm definitely gonna play it.
Deep cut on sale, like, maybe, yeah, probably.
Yeah, like that is just like the beauty of exclusive games coming onto PC is when you can start modding in and then not only play it on PC but also play a new experience of that game through mods. Because overhaul mods are fucking amazing. And like not just Kingdom Hearts, is like every other game, like Dark Souls and fucking Final Fantasy and fucking just anything and everything else.
I mean, I've said it before on the cast. The people that the developers don't know what their players want. Their players know what they want, and that's what modding does. Is it lets the players make what they want out of the game.
And honestly, I hope one of the things that Square Enix said about creating inroads with the base as well, not just the shareholders and the dev teams. Like I hope that they meant that, because if once they start putting things out on PC and seeing what people do to it within reason, they'll get that idea. They'll see what is desirable. Because clearly, just putting the game out there, they're not listening to feedback. They're not actually taking all of these criticisms to heart. So apparently, like, these in-depth reviews don't matter. Maybe once we're actually tinkering with the game and the devs start to go, ooh, oh, I don't know. Because they always get touchy when you mess with their stuff. Maybe then they'll take it seriously.
It's true, they do. It's true.
Regardless, yeah, I think this is good. I think that I am genuinely just happy about the exclusivity thing. I come off as exceptionally biased towards Sony as a console, but I'm not. I didn't want Microsoft to get all that stuff, not because then Sony wasn't going to have it. I have a PC. I was going to get all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I just don't want any one company to have all of it. And just like, I don't want Sony to have exclusives like this either. I think it's ridiculous, and it leaves out a huge portion of the Western base that now either doesn't have access to this game at all, or has to wait a year, by which time they've moved on to the next big thing, and now they don't buy it. So,
not to mention all the new issues Sony has with releasing titles on PC. So,
yeah,
because of having to make a PlayStation account.
Yeah, then there's that.
Yeah, can't forget that. I don't think that'll apply to Square Enix.
No, because Square Enix is, contrary to apparently popular belief, by the way, Square Enix isn't a Sony-owned studio. They are standalone. They're just attached to Sony at the hip, I guess. But no, that's a Sony issue.
They've been neighbors for a long time. We'll say that.
Yeah, that's a Sony issue. That won't be a Square Enix issue.
Because Sony isn't just a game publisher. It's fucking movies and TVs and electronics and all that. So like they like go in hand to hand.
To echo what Dalit said, the exclusivity not being a thing, I think will do a lot for Square Enix as a whole. And I hate exclusivity. Like it bugs the crap out of me. Like a younger me didn't care so much. In fact, a younger me kind of enjoyed watching the competition. But as somebody who's like in a lot more involved in gaming now, I guess, exclusivity sucks.
Yeah, no.
It really. We never really talked about the Game Awards as like an episode in and of itself at any point, but there was a part of me when they did the accessibility reward, and it was an exclusive game, and I'm like, I love that the quote unquote most accessible game is exclusive to one console. I'm like, that seems kind of that seems like contradicting terms there.
Okay, fair enough.
That kind of made me raise an eyebrow, but I'm just like, okay, well, I get what you mean, but still, exclusivity sucks.
Yeah.
So. The only games that should be exclusive are games that company genuinely first party makes. And even then, you should probably put it out everywhere to make that extra happy dollar. But that's just me.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, you're like putting a game out on multiple consoles, like that doesn't lose you money. So I don't understand.
It's not about the money, it's about the install base. The first party titles do there's a reason for you to buy that console.
Yes. Yeah.
But I feel like they'd make more money releasing
they would.
Outside of that.
That's how that works.
So.
They would make more money, but that's not the purpose of those games. And it's why it's so important that the first party games be important. And whether they know it or not, the people who are mad at Microsoft for not having any games, quote unquote, are correct. You should be mad. Microsoft should be furious because over the last, I don't know how long it's been since they released the console, there has been no reason to buy an Xbox. They haven't put out a first-party game that matters. Halo is the closest thing, and that's literally because its name is Halo, not because of the game attached to it.
And it came out on Steam the same day.
Yeah, true. So that's the only reason why game exclusivity makes at all sense to me. And I don't think any third-party team should be a part of that. I don't think they should ever get into that nonsense. I think if you're a third party, you should treat yourself as such and sell to the widest audience you can.
100%. Yeah, because I mean, in the long run, you're like, as a third party, you're worried about selling your game and making money, right? And by doing exclusivity, you're not making money. Like you're literally shooting yourself.
Yeah, no AAA development studio is gonna. I don't think they actually win off that. Indies, less true. I think if an indie gets like grabbed by a bigger company, I think there's a good chance, because people may not buy it, that is a smart business decision. But that's even then. Right. I would prefer it just be available everywhere. But that's a different topic. This is getting on to exclusivity, which is only tangentially a part of what we're talking about. Specifically to Square, I'm happy they're stepping away from this. It'll be nice to see the green boxes come back out and let the Microsoft crew have access to this. I don't imagine we'll see any of this on Game Pass. But if you do have an Xbox Series anything at this point, maybe now you'll also get to play these near release, if not on it. Yeah.
There's one final little bit in that title and that thing I want to touch on. It does say worth like the 140 million worth of games and projects. Differentiating projects from games. Do y'all think they were working on something outside of a game that was canceled here? Like, I can't think of anything like
maybe studios in different areas. They probably could have shut down a potential physical location they were considering starting up. Maybe just smaller dev teams. They decided not to, and they broke them up and funneled them back into the various divisions they have now.
Okay, yeah, I hadn't considered like other teams.
I don't. Do I think they're going to make another movie? I really hope not, because I know everyone really likes Advent Children and people like parts of Kingsglaive. I don't think Square's put out a movie that's turned a profit yet. Like that is not the move right now. Also, any
that's what I thought.
I figured that's probably where you're going. Any merch tied to the games that they were going to put out that they've canceled also now goes away as well. So they've paid for a lot of...
Fuck! You took my answer.
They've paid for a lot of art and assets that now they have no use for.
Yeah, my answer was merchandise and collaborations.
Collabs. Yeah, that as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I guess any like
and those are the real money.
That's genuinely the big money makers. This is true. This is without a doubt true.
It's the merchandise. Yeah.
Any like what are they domains they would have.
Yeah, anything that's attached to the project now that it's not come out, those things have to go away because you can't let those leak out, and they now don't have a home unless they're going to repurpose some of those assets into games that exist now, which they might. But by and large, like the further along a game was, the more likely that's just a straight up loss of money. And any merchandise is fucked. Because that was tied very directly to an IP that now doesn't exist.
Yep.
Fun aside real quick. Remember when we used to like predict 14 expansions based off of those domain reservations?
Yeah. Trying to figure out what does it mean.
I remember I got reminded of that earlier this week at one point, and I was like, oh yeah, we did do that at one point, didn't we? Like, because I think we thought was Endwalker was going to be Forspoken because they did it at first before. So
we sure did.
That was a fun time in Final Fantasy 14 history. Just quick aside there. Thought of it there. So yeah, this is overall it's a fun and interesting story, and like I said, we're talking about this really late into like after this has been like shared, been announced, and we haven't seen any really new information since then either. So
no,
it is just kind of talking about
information in quotation marks. I would say is, as you guys have said, Kingdom Hearts going to Steam like 2 weeks into when that information was released. It's like, oh, they're like kind of showing us that they are actually doing what they are planning on doing.
Yeah, using a title they know is going to move units to test the waters is a smart plan.
Any other things about this y'all wanted to talk about? Because I mean, I think we've kind of thoroughly dissected it, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much to really go into without being an insider to
without being a fly.
Yeah, without, like having actual knowledge that's new.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, as they talk about it more, and as they release more and more games, we'll have more to add. But I think we did a pretty good job so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say we did a pretty good job as well. Thanks, guys. Y'all are on top of this. You rock.
It's not like you didn't bring anything to the table.
I don't know what you're talking about. I was just here along for the ride listening today. I don't think I actually spoke.
Chat, do you agree that Dollet Solar carried this episode?
What's your favorite Square Enix IP? Leave it in the comments below. Hey?
Hey, there we go. Look, Dollet even doing the outro for me. Heck yeah.
Oh my god.
Man, I get to be lazy today. This is great. But as always, listeners, we do appreciate you all hanging out, listening to us babble on. And as Dollet said, if you want to tell us your favorite Square Enix IP, leave it in the comments down below on YouTube, tweet it at us over on Twitter. If you have your own thoughts or speculations you want to leave or talk about, or you want to hear us talk more in depth about, you can also leave those in the comments on YouTube, tweet at us on Twitter with our hashtag, which is on the screen for YouTube side of things. It's AskCRP. And of course, just follow us on Twitter, follow us on the socials, and we will see everybody in the next one. Peace.
Take care, everyone.
Be good now.